Dionisio Lalanca was a 25-year-old experienced truck driver born in Ingeniero, Jacabachi, Rio Negro, Argentina. On Sunday, October 27th, 1973, he left his house at around 12:30 p.m. and got into his Dodge 600 truck that was fully loaded with construction materials ready to be delivered to Rio Gallegos. He noticed that something was wrong with the right rear tyre, but continued his journey. He then got a flat tyre due to the heavy load and got out of the truck to fix the problem. It was around 1:15 a.m. when he started replacing the tyre on an isolated stretch of road. The road was completely deserted when all of a sudden it was illuminated with an intense yellow light which he thought were the headlights of a car, and continued working on his truck. He had his back to the light, but after a few seconds it became so bright that it lit up the whole area. The light then changed to a bluish colour, similar to an electric arc welder. He tried to stand up but was unable to. He had no strength and his legs would not respond. He was on his knees and wanted to get up. He then saw a huge object that looked like a plate suspended in the air about 7 meters above him. He saw 3 beings looking at him. He again tried to stand up but was unable to. He now felt paralysed and couldn't talk. The 3 beings stood looking at him for about 5 minutes. There were 2 men and a woman. The woman was between the 2 men and had long blonde hair. The men were also blonde and had shorter hair. The 3 were about the same height and dressed in the same manner, with single-piece smoky grey coverall suits that were tight-fitting with yellow boots and long gloves reaching to the middle of the arm, which were the same colour. They had no belts, weapons or helmets. Their faces were similar to humans, except they had foreheads which were elongated, and their eyes were small and slanted. They talked among themselves in a language he did not understand. They had no vocal inflections and they sounded like badly tuned radio with chirps and buzzes, but he was not afraid and felt a sense of calm. One of them grabbed him by the neck of the sweater and lifted him up, but it was not done in a violent manner. He tried to talk, but nothing came out. While one was holding him up, the other put some sort of apparatus onto his index finger on his left hand. It looked like a razor with a small tube. It was on his finger for several seconds, but did not hurt. When they left, he had 2 drops of blood on his finger, and then he passed out. He woke up at around 3 a.m. that morning, between 2 cars about 9 kilometers from where he met the 3 humanoids. He was unable to remember anything about the incident and was confused and lost. He started walking down the road but was too weak and fainted. After he regained consciousness, he again started walking down Route 3 and remained disoriented until a driver pulled over, picked him up and took him to the local police station. After hearing his story and his physical condition, they assumed he was drunk and drove him to Hospital Espinal. The doctors found no visible injuries and for some strange reason he refused to let them touch him on the head. They noticed a slight abrasion on his left eyelid. He still could not fully remember what had happened to him and would occasionally ask which city he was in, and they decided to transfer him to the municipal hospital. On October the 30th at around 10 a.m, he woke up and found his memory had returned. He now fully remembered his encounter with the aliens, but was more concerned about his truck rather than what had happened. Fortunately for Dionisio, the police informed them that they had found his truck parked on a roadside in Villa Bordeaux, approximately 18 kilometers from the city of Bahia Blanca. After fully regaining his memory in the municipal hospital of Bahia Blanca, he agreed to take sodium pentothal, or truth serum, to hopefully find out what actually happened to him. It is interesting to note that sodium pentothal, or truth serum's efficacy, has always had a question mark about its reliability. After the tests, he was immediately released from the hospital and went to his uncle's house. He found it difficult to sleep, and when he did manage to nap, he had strange nightmares. He visited psychiatrist Eduardo Meta to find help for his nightmares, where a group of experts was gathered by Meta to deal with the Dionisio's issues. The first thing they asked him was to draw a sketch of the humanoids that approached him on the road. After a physical examination, They sent him home, where he was to return on November the 6th to discuss the results. However, he didn't show up on the appointed date, so the doctors decided to pay him a visit at his uncle's house in order to carry on with their analysis. The team of experts were his psychiatrist Eduardo Meta and Eladio Santos. Sodium pentothal was not administered until after 2 successive hypnosis sessions. The third session had been performed under the effect of sodium pentothal, and everything that Dionisio unveiled was recorded on tape, where he said that he went up with 2 men by a beam of light. He was now inside the spaceship, and the floor was like silver, and there was only one window that was round, that looked like a ship's portal. There were many devices, including 2 television screens and a radio. On one of the TVs he could see the stars. The radio speaks to him in Spanish and tells him not to be afraid, that they are friends, that they have been coming to Earth for a long time. They did not say where they came from because it was a secret. They said that they had spoken with other men from Earth since 1950. They want to know if they can live on Earth with us. They told him that our planet is going to suffer grave catastrophes if our behaviour continues as it is at present. On top of the table there was a lighter, along with a watch and a pack of cigarettes. The woman had a black glove with what looked like thumbtacks on the palm, and she approached him and touched him, where he slowly fell into a paddock by a beam of light. They told him they would come back and get him because he was a good boy. He felt cold and started walking and said to himself, "Who am I? Who am I?" Still hypnotised, he mentioned 3 humanoid aliens and how they approached the truck and cut a small portion of skin from his index finger with a device that looked like a razor. He was then lifted by a yellowish amber beam of light and was vacuumed inside the spaceship. When he was inside the ship, he saw that the blonde woman had various instruments that he identified as medical and surgical equipment. He was afraid when he saw them. One of the men he suspected was the pilot was standing in front of the control panel, and he was holding a device in his hand that looked like a joystick. The other blonde humanoid was staring at the sky through a glass panel. Then things appeared to get intense when a door malfunctioned and several cables came loose from a cockpit and landed on a high voltage power line. He was placed on the table, and the beings used instruments to examine his body, taking samples of his blood and tissue. He described feeling a slight pressure but no pain during the procedures. The beings seemed to work methodically and efficiently, and they did not communicate with him verbally. Then the woman put on a black glove with suction valves in the palm and made an incision on his head, and then punched him in the left eyebrow, which left the bruise. After checking his head and seeing there was no serious injury, they dropped him off on a nearby road, where he was found with no memory. His story attracted significant attention from both the public and UFO researchers. The case was thoroughly investigated by various organisations, including the Aerial Phenomena Research Organisation called APRO and the Argentine UFO Research Organisation FAO. Both organisations documented Dionisio Lalanca's account in detail, noting the consistency and coherence of his story. Dr. Jose Angel Ochoa, a psychologist who examined Dionisio, conducted a series of tests to determine his mental state and concluded that he was not suffering from any mental illness or hallucinations and that his account was credible. Additionally, Dr. Francisco Gomez, a physician, examined Dionisio and found small puncture marks on his arms consistent with the blood extraction he described. The Dionisio Lalanca case quickly became a sensation in Argentina and was widely covered by the media. Newspapers and television programs featured interviews with Dionisio, doctors and UFO researchers. The public was intrigued by the detailed and bizarre nature of the account, and the case sparked debates about the possibility of extraterrestrial life and the credibility of UFO abduction stories. Dionisio's encounter had a profound impact on his psychological and physical well-being. In the months following the incident, he reported experiencing recurrent nightmares and a heightened sense of anxiety. He also developed an aversion to bright lights and experienced occasional flashbacks of the encounter. Physically, Dionisio suffered from unexplained fatigue and muscle weakness. The puncture marks on his arms took several weeks to heal, and he occasionally experienced numbness in his limbs. Despite these effects, Dionisio Lalanga remained determined to share this story and contribute to the understanding of UFO phenomena.